Hey, how's it going? This is Todd with PremiumBeat.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make that cool wall effect from the upcoming movie Annihilation. And to do that, we're going to use some super cool elements from a freebie pack that Rocket Stock just put out called Nebula. Now, what this pack is some organically created backgrounds for creating space-looking kind of stuff, nebulas, galaxies. When you get a piece of glass and you put, different dyes and they kind of react to one another, if you film it, some really cool stuff starts to happen. Making these elements is one of the most fun things I've ever done in my entire career. It's just like 3 days straight of me going like, whoa! Whoa! And these elements are all 4K, they're super cool, and you could use them for a lot of different things, and this is a good example. Here, we're not actually making anything space related, we are using it to create some cool textures that will make this wall effect. Real quick, I'm just gonna show you how you would use one of these elements to create like a cool looking like galaxy. So what you would do is in After Effects, just take this right here and just drag it down to a new comp button, and you're done. Okay.
B.
You just had to tell me, didn't you? Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and dive into the effects. We're going to do the whole thing in After Effects. I'm not going to lie to you. There are a lot of time-consuming steps involved, but someone's got to do it, and I've had way too much coffee, so let's get started. So what we have here is just this kind of cool, I guess, I don't know, to me it kind of looks like a big bubble kind of thing. Obviously, it's inspired by the new trailer for the movie coming out called Annihilation. We're going to start with this. This is our main shot, and it's just our character kind of walking through towards this forest, which is, whatever the weird bubble zone is. I haven't read the book, so I don't know what it's called, but we're going with bubble zone. I'm going to click on this footage. I just named it backplate. I don't really know why. Just did. It seemed official enough. So I'm going to click on track camera in the tracker tab. And if you don't have that open, just go to window and go to tracker and make sure that that is checked. So once you have your tracker and your footage selected, we're going to go and select track camera. Okay, and depending on how good your computer is, it'll take 30 to 40 seconds, sometimes longer, to track. And what you get is a bunch of these little track points. And I'll size this up and show you. You can actually scale up the track points so you can see them a little bit better. So we got a lot of good tracking point data out of these trees here. Now, one thing real quick, I just want to point out, I actually recorded this once already and I just about tore the computer apart trying to figure out why this was happening, but sometimes you can hide your layer controls, and I didn't realize that it actually also hides your tracking points as well. So if you just go to view and show layer controls, and that stuff will show up, but if you have that hidden, tracking points also won't show up. I was like, what is going on? So just a little tip for you there. So what you can do is select a bunch of these points, and I'm just going to select this is, I guess, the main focus of the shot as far as the trees go and everything. So I'm going to select all these points just like that, and then you can right click and we're going to say create solid and camera. Now, the reason that we're creating a solid, which you don't really have to do, I like to do it so that I can kind of double check how good my track is. So I'm going to scale it up a whole lot. I'm going to hit the R key for rotation and just rotate it so I can see it. And then we're going to RAM preview. And so now we can actually check and make sure that the track looks good. So if you just watch that kind of purple box there, I'm going to hit the 0 key. And you can see the track holds pretty well to the trees. So now we have our track and we have our footage, but we need to think about it as 3 different layers, okay? So in this particular shot, and it's gonna be different with every effect shot, but in this shot we have this kind of foresty area, we have the ground, and then we have our character walking. And each one is gonna require a little bit of a different roto job. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select our footage and I'm gonna make 2 copies. So now we have 2, I'm gonna name the top one character, I'm gonna name the middle one ground. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the backplate, and I'm also going to turn off our tracking solid. Okay, so first I'm going to focus on the ground, okay? Now, I got some bad news for you. Each and every one of these grass blades, what we have to do is actually go in and roto each one. I'm just kidding. We're just going to put a feather on it, and it's going to look just fine. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to select kind of a shape around the ground specifically. And let's see, I kind of want it to be a little bit higher, something like that. And this is just pretty basic I wouldn't put too much thought into this at all. As the shot changes, you're gonna need to go and kind of alter the mask path. So I'm gonna click on our ground layer here with our mask on it. I'm gonna double tap the M key, start the stopwatch on the mask path right there. And I'm just gonna go forward. Let's just go like probably about halfway. And you'll notice the terrain kind of changed a little bit because the camera's moving. And I'm just gonna kind of make sure that as the terrain changes, we're changing the mask appropriately. And of course, we're gonna go ahead and add some feathering to that. So I'm gonna hit the F key and we'll just feather it like so. And next we have to work on the character layer. Now, there are multiple different ways to do this, and a lot of people really swear by roto brush. Personally, I just prefer to just do it the old school way. So what we're gonna do is zoom all the way in and select our character layer here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of select most of her leg portion here. And the thing is like, what you really want to do when you're doing frame by frame roto stuff like this is try to get away with using as few points as possible. You really want to use simple shapes, do it in as few points as you possibly can, and that'll make your life a lot easier. So we're going to select her as good as we can and think good thoughts. Okay, so we've selected our character, and I'm gonna go hit back to the mask option. So we're just gonna hit the M key and it'll bring up our mask here. I'm gonna set that to none, so that way we can actually see what we're doing here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the mask on the 2s, which means I'm gonna skip 2 frames and do it, skip 2 frames, do it. So again, we're gonna go in, and I'm just gonna go ahead and let y'all watch me roto this. So enjoy. Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna make you watch me do the whole thing. Honestly, it took me, I don't know, I'd say probably about an hour. You get to a point where you're just like, I don't know, really fast at it. And so here's the roto that we ended up with. It's not 100% perfect, but you can see there's a nice big black hole where we get to add a lot of cool stuff. So let's get started with that part now. So I'm gonna go to our project bin here. I'm gonna right click, go to new composition, and I'm just gonna call this bubbles. And let's go ahead and make a solid. Right click down here, go to new, solid. Black is fine, doesn't matter. And you're gonna select that, go to effect, and select noise and grain, fractal noise, and you're gonna get this kind of situation. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn the contrast up a good amount, and we're gonna go to transform, turn off uniform scaling, and we're going to scale the height up a good amount, and bring in the width, something like that. And then down here on the evolution, we're going to hold down the Alt key and click on the stopwatch here, and that's gonna open up our expression options. And I'm gonna type in time, and then the star symbol, and let's do something like 30. Okay, and what that's gonna do is it's just gonna constantly evolve that animation over time so that we don't have to keyframe it ourselves. And then we're gonna select our solid object, we're gonna duplicate it, and on this top layer here, I'm gonna go to effect, color correction. We're gonna find the colorama effect. You're gonna get this crazy rainbow looking thing. I'm gonna go to the output cycle drop down, and let's just drag off 3 of these colors, and we're gonna just select kind of bubble color. So you just double click that and you'll get a color selector. So let's just choose like a light pink kind of thing. Let's do a light tealish blue. And let's do something like a kind of a slightly orangish yellow. There, that looks kind of bubblish. And I'm gonna go ahead and for the bubble layer, let's just kind of change the look a little bit. So go back to our transform properties on the fractal noise for that layer, and let's just scale out the width a little bit. And we're gonna set that layer itself to hard light mode. So we have this kind of slowly evolving weirdness. And what I want to do is I'm going to make a adjustment layer. And on the adjustment layer, we're going to go to effect, distort, and we're going to choose turbulent displace. What that's going to do is it's going to kind of give this wobbly, bubbly looking thing. I'm going to just turn up the size. I'm going to mess with the size properties. And for the offset here, I'm going to start the stopwatch at the beginning, and then let's go to the end. And I'm going to just bring that upwards because it kind of looks like, you know, the bubble stuff is moving upwards in the example. And we're also going to put a similar expression on the evolution for this as well. So alt click on the stopwatch for evolution on your turbulent displace effect, and we're going to type time star, and for this one let's do 40. And so there we go. That's what we got. That's our bubble texture. Here's where stuff gets a lot more fun. I'm going to take our bubble texture that we just created. I'm going to drag it into our scene here. And all right, I think we're done. It looks pretty dope, right? Yeah. So now I'm going to make our bubble layer 3D. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to take the position data from that track solid that we made before. So hit the P key. And I'm going to copy the position data there. And we're going to hit the P key on our bubble layer. Select position and paste it with Command V. And now it's real tiny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale that up quite a bit. So I'm going to select the bubbles. I'm going to go to Effect, Stylize, select Motion Tile. And we're going to turn up the output width till it fills the frame, something like 250, and just kind of keep moving it. So I'm also going to click on Mirror Edges. And that's going to kind of give it, I don't know, it kind of, to me, it gives it this cool, almost kaleidoscope feel. Also turn up the output height till we fill up the sky. So let's make that, let's try 200. And now we're going to use an element from the Nebula freebie pack from Rocket Stock that I was talking about before. Let's look through some of the fractal ambience ones to kind of find something that we like. And to me, this one looks really cool. Now it moves from left to right. And since we are trying to make the effect go up, we're gonna have to do a little bit of rotation on it. So I'm gonna drag that in and we're gonna place it right above our bubbles layer. And let's go ahead and rotate it. So we're gonna make it 3D. And we're going to steal the position data from the bubbles layer. So go to bubbles, position, Command C to copy it. And we're gonna paste it to the fractal ambience position. And again, it got really small. So we're gonna hit the S key, scale it up. And let's go something right around there. And we're gonna hit the R key and we're gonna rotate it by negative 90 degrees. So now it's going to be kind of moving upward, and we can actually scale it down just a bit from there just to get a little bit more resolution. And we're going to position it kind of right in the middle, and I'm going to add motion tile to it again. So stylize, motion tile. We're going to change the output height this time because we rotated it on its side. So let's try 300. And that should be pretty good. Let's scale it up just a little bit because I think the shot kind of starts a little bit further off to the left. And we're going to make sure that mirror edges is clicked. And so now with our bubble layer, we're going to select that and go to the track matte options here, this little drop down. And on this drop down, we're going to select Luma Matte. And so already there you go. That looks pretty cool. Okay, so that should give you a better idea of what we've been trying to do this whole time with that. Now you could honestly just stop there. It looks kind of cool and subtle, but I'm going to push it a little bit further. I'm going to actually duplicate our fractal ambience layer, and I'm going to turn it on again. And we're going to go to Effect, Color Correction, Tint, and that'll make it black and white. And I'm going to set that to Add. And so now we just have, you know, it brightens it up a little bit. And I don't want it to be quite so prominent, so I'm going to hit the T key, and let's turn down the opacity to something like 50. That's much better in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is on the backplate layer, I'm going to go to Effect, Distort, and we're going to select Turbulent Displace. And so what that's going to do is it's going to just kind of make it look like you're looking through some sort of a prismy glass sort of thing, and it's going to make everything look all cool and wobbly as the camera moves. And if you look at the original example, you'll see that. But another thing that happens is when you do that, it actually warps it to the point that our character here is like kind of warping into the shot right there, if you see that. So that's a really easy fix. Since we have her separated from the background, we can actually duplicate that layer and move it above. And we're gonna, on the backplate layer, I'm gonna go to the track matte options and select alpha matte inverted. Let's just double check. Yeah, so what that's done is it's cut her out from the background. And you can still see her, obviously, and that's just because it's already warped to that point. So we're going to change the mask properties for that layer specifically. So I'm just going to turn up the mask expansion quite a bit, and we're going to feather it out a whole lot. And so now you don't see that weird warped version of the character. So the effect is pretty much done. From there, you can kind of customize it however you like. I'm going to go ahead and make an adjustment layer and do Effect, Stylize, Glow. And I'm just going to turn up the glow radius to something extreme, like 600, 700, something like that. And I'm going to turn up the threshold, and that'll kind of turn it down a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And let's just kind of A/B that. So what it just kind of, I don't know, it brings some glow on top of the character. It kind of brings her more into the scene. I just like that a little bit better. But like I said, you can do whatever you want to do. And I'm going to go ahead and also just add another adjustment layer for just some overall kind of color correction. Just add a little bit of a contrast curve on top of the whole thing, just to kind of blend everything together a little bit. And so there you go. After, you know, a decent amount of rotoscoping and some tracking and playing around with the textures and stuff, this is the result that we came up with. So if you haven't yet, be sure to check out the Nebula pack from Rocket Stock. Make some space videos or bubble walls. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.